One Tuesday morning, I got a call from the hospital asking why I hadn't come for my husband. And until that phone call, I believed I knew exactly where my husband was. I laughed at first, a sharp, nervous sound, and told the nurse she must be mistaken. My husband, Mark, was in Germany on a 2-week business trip. I had driven him to the airport myself. There was a pause on the line. Then her voice lowered. She said he'd been admitted 3 nights earlier after collapsing in the parking lot of a local supermarket. More unsettling than that was what came next. Someone had been staying with him. A woman who signed every form as his wife. A woman who looked enough like me that no one questioned it. I drove to the hospital in a fog, replaying every detail of our last goodbye. The clothes he packed. The call he never returned. The photo he sent from an airport lounge that now felt staged. When I arrived, I saw my husband through the glass. Alive. Awake. And holding hands with a woman wearing my face, my haircut, my wedding ring, my life. In that moment, I understood the truth wasn't just about betrayal. I was about to find out how long I had already been erased. Hello, everyone. My name is Wendy Lawson, and I'm 55 years old. If you've ever trusted someone with every piece of your heart, only to realize one day that they'd been quietly replacing you all along, this story is for you. It's hard to tell, but I need to, because maybe it'll help someone else see the signs before it's too late. Before I go any further, I'd love to know, where are you listening from today? Drop your city or country in the comments. It means the world to know I'm not alone in this. Let me take you back to how it all started, or at least, how I thought it started. Mark and I had been married for 28 years. We met when I was 24 and he was 27, both of us fresh out of college and full of dreams. I was working as a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital here in Columbus, Ohio, long shifts, tired feet, but I loved it. Mark was an account manager for a manufacturing company, always on the road, always closing deals. He had that easy charm, the kind that made clients trust him and made me feel safe. We built a life the way most people do, one brick at a time. A small starter home in the suburbs. 2 beautiful kids, our daughter Emily, now 26, and our son Jacob, 24. I gave up full-time nursing when the kids came along, took part-time shifts so I could be there for school plays and soccer games. Mark's job paid the bills, and he worked hard for it. Overtime, weekends, those sudden emergency trips that popped up every few months. I never complained. I was proud of him, proud of us. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. A mortgage we could handle, college funds we scraped together, vacations to Florida every other summer. Mark handled all the finances, said it was the least he could do since I handled everything else. The house, the kids, the meals, the holidays. I trusted him completely. He'd sit at the kitchen table with his spreadsheets and bills, and I'd bring him coffee, kiss the top of his head, and tell him he was my rock. Looking back, I see how easy it was for him to hide things. I never asked to see the bank statements. Never questioned why his trips seemed to stretch longer each year. Never wondered why, when he came home, he smelled faintly of a perfume that wasn't mine. But lately, something had felt off. It started small. Little things I brushed aside because I didn't want to be that wife, the nagging one, the suspicious one. He'd come home late from client dinners and head straight to the shower. His phone was suddenly always face down on the counter. He changed the passcode twice in 1 month. When I'd ask about his day, he'd give me short answers, then change the subject to the kids or the yard. And the trips. God, the trips. The Germany trip was supposed to be the big one, 2 weeks in Munich for a new contract. He was excited, talking about how it could mean a promotion, better money for retirement. I helped him pack 3 suits, his favorite blue tie, the new dress shoes I'd bought him for Christmas. I drove him to Port Columbus early that Saturday morning, kissed him goodbye at security, watched him wave until he disappeared through the gate. He sent me a photo from the airport lounge, him in a leather chair, coffee in hand, smiling that crooked smile I'd fallen in love with. Caption: Miss you already, one. See you in 2 weeks. I saved that photo. Printed it even. Stuck it on the fridge. 3 days later, he called from his hotel. Said the meetings were going great, the food was amazing, he wished I was there. We talked for 20 minutes, normal stuff, nothing strange. After that, the calls got shorter. Texts mostly. Busy day. Long dinner. Love you. By the second week, I was counting down the days until he came home. I'd planned a special dinner, his favorite steak, that red wine we saved for anniversaries. I even bought new lingerie, silly as it sounds at 55. I wanted to feel close to him again. Then came Tuesday morning. I was in the kitchen, sipping coffee, scrolling through Facebook, when the phone rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Mrs. Lawson? Yes, this is Wendy Lawson. This is Nurse Ramirez from Riverside Methodist Hospital. We're calling about your husband, Mark Lawson. He was admitted 3 nights ago, and we've been trying to reach you. He's stable now, but we need someone to discuss discharge plans. My coffee mug stopped halfway to my mouth. I'm sorry, what? Mark is in Germany. On business. I think you have the wrong person. A pause. Papers rustling. No, ma'am. Mr. Lawson was brought in Saturday night after collapsing in the parking lot of the Kroger on Henderson Road. Diagnosis is exhaustion and dehydration, possible early pneumonia. He's been here since. A woman has been with him the entire time, signed all the consent forms as his spouse, Wendy Lawson. The room tilted. I gripped the counter. My voice came out small. That can't be right. I'm Wendy Lawson. I'm his wife. Another pause. Longer this time. Ma'am, I think you should come in. Room 412, ICU step down. I don't remember hanging up. Don't remember grabbing my keys or driving. Just flashes, red lights I barely stopped for, my hands shaking on the wheel, that photo on the fridge mocking me as I left the house. Riverside Methodist is only 20 minutes from our house, but it felt like hours. My mind raced through every possible explanation. Maybe it was a mistake. Wrong Mark Lawson. Maybe he'd come home early and surprised me, then gotten sick. Maybe he'd never left at all. That last thought hit me like ice water. I parked crooked, didn't even lock the car. Ran through the sliding doors, past the information desk, straight to the elevators. 4th floor. Room 412. The hallways smelled like antiseptic and old coffee. My shoes squeaked on the linoleum. I stopped outside the door. It was cracked open just enough to see inside. There he was. Mark. My Mark. Sitting up in bed, pale but awake, and 4 in his arm. Monitors beeping softly. And next to him, in the chair I should have been sitting in, was a woman. She had my haircut, shoulder-length auburn waves, the same part on the left. She wore glasses like mine, a cardigan like the one I'd bought last fall. And on her left hand, glinting under the fluorescent lights, was my wedding ring. Or one exactly like it. Mark was holding her hand. She leaned in, whispered something. He smiled, tired, but real. My knees buckled. I grabbed the doorframe to stay upright. The nurse's words echoed. Someone had been staying with him. Signed every form as his wife. This woman had been here for 3 days. Sleeping in that chair. Bringing him water. Talking to doctors. Living my life. I must have made a sound, because Mark looked up. His face went white. Wendy. The woman turned. And that's when my world truly shattered. She looked like me. Not just the hair, the glasses. The face. Same cheekbones. Same hazel eyes. Same slight crow's feet from years of smiling. She was younger, maybe early 40s, but the resemblance was uncanny. Like looking into a mirror that had shaved 15 years off my life. She stared at me confused. Mark's mouth opened, closed. No words. I couldn't move. The woman, my mirror, tilted her head. Mark? Who is this? Her voice was softer than mine. Sweeter. He looked from her to me, panic rising. Wendy. I can explain. But I was already backing away. Because in that moment, I knew. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a surprise early return. This wasn't even just an affair. This was something planned. Calculated. And I had been erased long before I ever walked into that room. I turned and ran. Down the hallway, past nurses calling my name, into the elevator, out to the parking lot. I sat in my car and sobbed ugly, choking sobs that hurt my chest. 28 years. 2 children. A whole life. And somewhere along the way, he'd found someone to replace me. Someone who could wear my face, my ring, my name. But how long? How long had this been going on? I wiped my eyes, started the car. I needed answers. And I wasn't leaving until I got them. But first, I needed proof. Because no one was going to believe me. Not without proof. I drove home from the hospital in a blur, tears streaming down my face so hard I had to pull over twice just to breathe. My hands shook on the steering wheel. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, that woman with my face, my haircut, my ring leaning over Mark, whispering to him like she belonged there. How could this be happening? 28 years. 28 years of mornings making his coffee just the way he liked it, black with 1 sugar. 28 years of folding his laundry, planning our retirement, believing we were building something real. But now I wasn't sure what was real anymore. I got home somehow. The house felt too quiet, too empty. That stupid photo from the airport lounge was still on the fridge. I ripped it down and stared at it. Mark's smile looked fake now. Staged. Like everything else. My phone buzzed nonstop. Text from Mark, "Wendy, please come back. It's not what you think. We need to talk. I love you." Love me? How dare he? I ignored them all. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where he'd done our taxes, balanced our checkbook, and opened his laptop. He'd left it at home for the trip. Said he didn't need it for meetings. The password was our anniversary. Of course it was. I started small. Email first. Nothing unusual at work. Then his browser history. That's when the first crack appeared. Searches for apartments for rent Columbus East Side. Plastic surgeons Ohio facial procedures. Hair salons Auburn dye specialists. My stomach dropped. Then photos. Hidden in a folder marked work files. Hundreds of them. Her. The woman from the hospital. Selfies of her in different hairstyles, trying them on, it looked like. Before and after shots. One series, her with long blonde hair, then progressively shorter, darker, until she looked just like me. Like looking at old photos of myself from 10, 15 years ago. There were emails too. To a surgeon in Cleveland. Consultations for minor refinements, cheekbones, jawline, eyes. To make her look more mature, more like the reference photos. The reference photos were of me. Printed from our family albums. Our wedding photo. Vacation shots from Florida. He'd sent them to her. To him. My husband had been sculpting another woman into my image. I felt sick. Ran to the bathroom and threw up. But I couldn't stop. I had to know how deep this went. Bank statements next. I logged into our joint account, something I hadn't done in years because Mark always handled it. Withdrawals. Large ones. $5,000 here, $10,000 there. Labeled business expenses or travel. Then a second account. One I didn't know about. In both our names, but I'd never seen it. Balance, over $200,000 drained in the last 5 years. Payments to a plastic surgery center. To an apartment complex on the east side. Furniture stores. Jewelry. And monthly deposits from Mark's paycheck, automatic transfers. He'd been funding her life. Her transformation. Her replacement of me. I printed everything. Page after page. My hands shook so badly the printer jammed twice. Then I called the one person I knew I could trust, my best friend Sarah. We'd been friends since nursing school. She was the only one who'd ever gently hinted that Mark's trips seemed convenient. She answered on the first ring. "One? What's wrong? You sound. I need you to come over. Now. Please." She was there in 15 minutes. I showed her everything. The photos. The bank records. The hospital memory still raw. She cried with me. Held me while I shook. "That bastard," she whispered. "He's been planning this. Building a younger version of you. Younger. That's what hit hardest. She was in her early 40s. 15 years younger than me. He wanted me, but without the age. Without the history. Without the stretch marks from carrying his children. Sarah helped me think straight. First, we need proof no one can deny. Hospital records. Photos of her. And a private investigator. You need to know how long. Everything. I nodded. Numb. We found a PI online, highly rated, discreet. I called. Explained as much as I could without breaking down. He agreed to meet the next day. That night, I didn't sleep. I went through more files. And found the worst part. Property records. An apartment deed. Bought 3 years ago. In Mark's name and hers. Hers. Her name was Vanessa Reed. But on the hospital forms? Signed as Wendy Lawson. She'd been using my name. My identity. Credit cards in my name, but sent to the apartment address. Loans. A car. All in the last 2 years. While I was home cooking dinner, thinking my husband was in Germany closing deals, he was with her. Living a second life as my husband. With a woman pretending to be me. I found texts too, backed up on the laptop. From him to her, "You're perfect now. Just like her, but better. Can't wait until it's just us. Once the kids are fully launched, we can start fresh." The PI, Tom Harlan, met us the next morning at a coffee shop downtown. Ex-cop. Kind eyes, but no nonsense. I showed him everything I'd found. His face hardened. "This is bigamy territory," he said quietly. "Or at least fraud. Identity theft. Financial abuse." "Bigamy? They're not married," I said. "Are they?" He shrugged. "Doesn't matter. She's signing as his wife. Using your name legally for medical decisions, probably more." He took the case. Started that day. Surveillance on the apartment. On her. On Mark once he was discharged. Mark came home 2 days later. I let him in. He looked terrible, pale, guilty. "Wendy, baby, please. Let me explain." I stayed calm. Ice cold. "Who is she, Mark?" He collapsed on the couch. Head in hands. "It's not what you think. She's someone I met 5 years ago. At a conference. 5 years. Her name's Vanessa. She was in a bad marriage. Needed help. I helped her. Helped her. With our money. With surgery to look like me." "Why does she look like me?" He couldn't meet my eyes. "I missed you on trips. She reminded me of you when we were younger." Reminded him. "And the name?" "Signing as me." A long pause. "She started using your name for privacy. So her ex wouldn't find her." Lies. All lies. But I played along. Needed time. For the PI. And the money? Investments. For us. For retirement. More lies. I nodded. Pretended to listen. That night, he slept in the guest room. I locked our bedroom door. The PI's first report came a week later. Photos. Mark and Vanessa. At the apartment. Grocery shopping like a normal couple. Her wearing my style clothes. My jewelry duplicates. And worse, photos of them at a jewelry store. Him buying a new ring. An engagement ring? Tom dug deeper. Found marriage records? No. But a life insurance policy, changed beneficiary to Wendy Lawson with her address. And credit in my name ruined. $150,000 in debt. All hers. She'd been living as me. For years. While I lived as the oblivious wife. Tom found her social media private, but he got in. Photos of our life. Her with Mark on vacations I thought were business trips. Her posting as me, missing my hubby on this long trip. Using my words. My stories. Stealing my life piece by piece. And the kids? She'd met them. Once. As Dad's colleague. Emily remembered her. Nice lady. Looked kinda like you, Mom. I wanted to scream. But I waited. Gathered more. The PI followed them to dinner. Overheard plans. Mark talking about phasing out the old life. Once everything's transferred. Transferred. He was planning to erase me completely. Leave me with nothing. The debt. The ruined credit. While he started over with her, the upgraded version. Sarah stayed with me most nights. You're strong, one. Stronger than he knows. But inside, I was breaking, questioning everything. Was I too old? Too worn? Had I not been enough? No, this wasn't me. This was him. A monster. The climax was coming. I could feel it. But first, more truth. And justice. #### part 3. The weeks after Mark came home from the hospital were like walking through a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. He slept in the guest room, tiptoeing around me like I was made of glass. He'd try to talk, soft voice, pleading eyes, "Wendy, we can fix this. It's not too late." I'd just stare at him until he looked away. Because how do you fix something that was never broken from his side? He didn't want to fix us. He wanted to finish replacing me. Sarah stayed over most nights, sleeping on the couch with a baseball bat by her side. Just in case he tries anything stupid, she said. I didn't argue. Tom Harlan, the private investigator, became my lifeline. Every few days he'd send encrypted emails, photos, recordings, financial trails. Each one peeled back another layer of the life Mark had built without me. And God, the layers went deep. Tom discovered that Vanessa Reed wasn't just some random woman Mark met at a conference. She'd been a receptionist at one of his client companies, 20 years younger, recently divorced, vulnerable. Mark started mentoring her 4.5 years ago, helped her get a better job, paid for her divorce lawyer, then the apartment, then the surgeries. But the real shock came when Tom dug into her past. Vanessa had a history. 2 ex-husbands before the one Mark rescued her from. Both older. Both well off. Both left financially devastated after the divorces. One of them, husband number 2, had taken out massive life insurance policies naming her beneficiary, right before he had a heart episode that put him in the hospital for weeks. He survived. Barely. Tom found old police reports, suspicion of tampering with medication, but nothing stuck. No proof. The pattern was chilling. Older man. Financial support. Isolation. Then crisis. And now Mark, 58, successful, with a fat 401k and a $750,000 life insurance policy. A policy that, 6 months ago, had the beneficiary quietly changed to Wendy Lawson, with an address that wasn't ours. Her address. Tom sat across from Sarah and me at the kitchen table, spreading out photos like a deck of cards. She's done this before, he said. Maybe not murder yet, but definitely grift. She finds men like Mark. Men who feel invisible at home. Men hitting midlife. She becomes whatever they miss about their wives, but younger, shinier, no baggage. I felt bile rise in my throat. And Mark? Sarah asked. Tom sighed. Mark's deeper in than the others. He's not just funding her. He's co-signing everything. He's rewriting his will, draft copy I got from his lawyer's trash. Leaving everything to Wendy Lawson, care of her apartment, house, accounts, retirement. You get nothing but the debt she's racked up in your name. I stared at the will draft. My name, my signature forged perfectly at the bottom as witness. How long until? I couldn't finish. Tom met my eyes. He's planning to move out permanently in March. After Jacob's graduation. Told her in a recorded call, once the boys launched, we file the papers. Quiet divorce. She'll be too shocked to fight. Too shocked. As if I hadn't been fighting for months already. But the worst, the absolute gut punch, came 2 weeks later. Tom called me at 2 a.m. Wendy, you need to see this. Now. He met me at his office downtown. Dark, just a desk lamp glowing. On his computer screen, hospital security footage he'd pulled through a contact. The night Mark collapsed in the Kroger parking lot. Grainy, but clear enough. Mark stumbling out of the store, bags in hand. Vanessa behind him, arm around his waist like a loving wife. Then he falters. Drops the bags. Grabs his chest. She catches him. Lowers him gently to the asphalt. But watch close, Tom zoomed in. She pulls something from her purse. A small vial. Presses it to his mouth. Medicine, she'd told the paramedics later. For his heart condition. Mark didn't have a heart condition. Tom had already sent the vial, retrieved from evidence lockup, to a private lab. Preliminary results: high concentration of a blood pressure medication that, in overdose, causes exactly the symptoms Mark had. Exhaustion, dehydration, collapse. Not enough to kill. Just enough to hospitalize. Just enough for her to play devoted wife. Sign forms. Make decisions. Just enough to build a paper trail proving she was the real Mrs. Lawson. I sat back, numb. She's softening him up, Tom said quietly. Classic move. Make him dependent. Make the world see her as the caregiver. When the big one comes. He didn't need to finish. Sarah was with me when I got the next update. Tom had followed Vanessa to a storage unit on the east side. Inside, boxes of my things. Not just photos. My old nursing scrubs. My favorite scarf from our 20th anniversary trip to Napa. Birthday cards the kids made me when they were little. My mother's locket, the one I thought I'd lost years ago. She'd been in our house. Stealing pieces of me. Not just my identity. My memories. My past. And then the final blow. Tom found emails between Mark and a divorce attorney. Not just any divorce. A plan to claim I had early dementia. That I'd been confused for years. That I'd been hiding money, running up debt. That Vanessa was actually a caregiver he'd hired to help manage my decline. He had doctor visits lined up, forged notes from a clinic Vanessa worked at briefly. He was going to have me declared incompetent. Take everything. Leave me institutionalized or penniless. While he rode off with the new, improved Wendy. I broke that night. Sarah held me on the kitchen floor while I screamed into a pillow until my throat was raw. Why me? I kept whispering. What did I do wrong? Nothing, Sarah said fiercely. You loved him. That's all. And monsters prey on love. But something shifted in me then. The grief hardened into something else. Rage. Cold, clear, focused. I looked at Sarah. No more waiting. We called Tom back. I want everything. Every recording. Every photo. Bank records. The vial lab results. The storage unit inventory. All of it. And then we end this. Publicly. Permanently. We planned for weeks. First, I protected myself. Tom connected me to a fierce divorce attorney, Laura Klein. Shark in heels. We froze accounts. Moved money Mark couldn't touch. Filed emergency motions to block beneficiary changes. I told the kids. That was the hardest night of my life. Emily and Jacob came over for dinner. I made lasagna, their favorite from childhood. Then I laid it all out. Photos. Recordings. The will. Emily cried silently. Jacob punched a hole in the drywall. He's not our dad anymore, he said, voice shaking. Not after this. They chose me. Thank God. They even agreed to help. Because the confrontation, the real one, was going to be at a place where no one could deny it. Mark and Vanessa had planned a big celebration. Mark's retirement party. Early, yes, but the company was throwing it anyway. Big venue downtown. The Hyatt Ballroom. 200 guests. Colleagues, clients, friends. Our friends. And the kids were supposed to speak. A toast to Dad's new chapter. Perfect. We turned it into something else. Laura got the police involved quietly, detectives specializing in elder fraud and attempted poisoning. They wanted more time. I gave them until the party. 2 weeks. In those weeks, I played the perfect wife. Cooked Mark's meals. Asked about his day. Let him think I was softening. He relaxed. Started spending nights at the office again. With her. I smiled through it. Inside, I was steel. The night before the party, Sarah and I went through the evidence one last time. Projector files ready. Printed packets for police. Recordings synced. The kids rehearsed their speech. Tom would be there, plain clothes, ready to signal detectives waiting outside. And me? I bought a new dress. Red. Bold. The color I hadn't worn in years because Mark said it was too much at my age. I wore it like armor. The day of the party arrived crisp and cold, early December, lights twinkling downtown. Mark kissed my cheek in the lobby. You look beautiful, one. Liar. We walked in together. Smiles. Handshakes. Toasts. Vanessa was there, of course. In a dress almost identical to one I owned. Hair perfect. My face on her body. She smiled at me across the room. Sweet. Poisonous. The program started. Speeches from colleagues. Then the kids. Emily went first. Tears in her eyes, but strong. She talked about family. About loyalty. About truth. Then Jacob. He stepped to the microphone. Looked straight at Mark. Daddy, we have a special presentation for your retirement. The lights dimmed. The projector came on. And the room went dead silent. First slide, Mark and Vanessa. Kissing. Dated 4 years ago. Gasps. Next, surgical before and afters. Her transformation into me. Murmurs turning to outrage. Then bank records. Hundreds of thousands drained. The forged will. The life insurance change. The hospital footage. Her pressing the vial to his lips. And finally, audio. Mark's voice. Once we get her declared incompetent, it's all ours. Vanessa's laugh. She'll never see it coming. The room erupted. People standing. Shouting. Mark went white. Stumbled back. Vanessa bolted for the door, but Tom was there. Blocked her. Detectives entered. Plain clothes, badges out. Mark tried to speak. It's not, this is edited. But Jacob's voice cut through. You were going to drug her. Erase her. For money. For this fake. He pointed at Vanessa. Handcuffs came out. Mark collapsed into a chair. Sobbing. Not for me. For himself. Vanessa screamed as they cuffed her. Attempted fraud. Identity theft. Attempted murder charges pending lab confirmation. The crowd, our friends, his colleagues, turned their backs. Phones were out. Recording everything. It would be on the news by morning. I stood there. In my red dress. Watching the life he tried to steal from me burn to the ground. And for the first time in months, I breathed. But we're not done yet. Because the aftermath, the real justice, the healing, the new beginning, that's still coming. If you're feeling this rage with me right now, comment justice below. Let me know you're still here. The ballroom at the Hyatt was still buzzing with chaos when the detectives led Mark and Vanessa away in handcuffs. I stood there in my red dress, watching the man I had loved for nearly 3 decades stumble out the door, his head bowed, tears streaming down his face, not tears of remorse for what he had done to me, but tears for the empire of lies that had just crumbled around him. Vanessa fought harder, twisting against the officers, screaming that it was all a misunderstanding, that I was the crazy one, the jealous ex who had fabricated everything. But no one listened. The evidence was too overwhelming, the projector screen still frozen on that final damning image of her pressing the vial to his lips in the parking lot. Phones had captured every second of the exposure, and by morning, the videos were already spreading across social media, local news stations picking them up like wildfire. I felt a hand on my shoulder, Emily's. She pulled me into a hug, her body shaking with a mix of relief and fury. Jacob stood beside us, his arms crossed, staring at the door where his father had vanished. It's over, Mom, Emily whispered into my hair. You did it. You saved yourself. But even as she said it, I knew it wasn't over. Not really. The legal battles were just beginning, and the emotional wreckage inside me felt like it would take years to clear. We left the venue through a side exit to avoid the crowd. Sarah drove us home in silence at first, the city lights blurring past the windows like streaks of forgotten dreams. Then Jacob spoke from the back seat, his voice low and steady. He doesn't deserve to ever see us again. Emily nodded, wiping her eyes. But what about us, Mom? Are we okay? I turned to look at them, my beautiful, grown children who had stood by me without hesitation, and felt a surge of gratitude so powerful it nearly choked me. We're more than okay, I told them. We're free. The months that followed were a whirlwind of lawyers, court dates, and headlines. The story went viral locally first. Columbus executives' double life exposed in dramatic retirement party takedown, then spread nationally as outlets picked up the details. The identity theft, the surgical transformation, the attempted poisoning. Reporters camped outside my house for weeks. I gave one interview, just one, to a trusted local journalist because I wanted the truth out there, unfiltered. I spoke calmly about the years of subtle erosion, how love can blind you until it's too late, how predators hide in plain sight wearing the mask of devotion. The response was overwhelming, thousands of messages from women who had seen the signs in their own marriages, from men ashamed of friends who had done similar things, from strangers thanking me for giving them courage. Mark's company fired him immediately. His colleagues, many of whom had been at the party, turned their backs completely. Clients pulled contracts. The house we had shared went on the market quickly. I couldn't live there anymore, surrounded by ghosts of the life I thought we had. Laura, my attorney, was relentless. We uncovered even more during discovery. Mark had been siphoning funds for years, building a nest egg for his new life while leaving me vulnerable. But with the frozen accounts and the criminal charges, he had no leverage. The divorce was finalized faster than anyone expected. I kept the retirement accounts he hadn't touched, the college funds for the kids, and a fair settlement that ensured I wouldn't have to worry financially. He got nothing but debt and disgrace. Vanessa's fate was harsher. The lab confirmed the substance in the vial, enough to cause serious harm over time if administered repeatedly. Combined with the financial fraud and identity theft, she faced felony charges. Her past caught up too. One of her ex-husbands came forward with new evidence from their divorce, reopening old suspicions. She took a plea deal eventually, 7 years in prison, restitution payments that would follow her for life. I didn't attend the sentencing. I didn't need to see her face again. Mark pleaded guilty to lesser charges, fraud, and conspiracy. He got probation, community service, and a permanent stain on his record that barred him from any professional work again. He tried to reach out once, through a letter delivered by his lawyer. Wendy, I was lost. Midlife crisis. She manipulated me. I never stopped loving you. I read it once, then burned it in the kitchen sink. Manipulation? He had orchestrated the surgeries, the theft, the plan to declare me incompetent. No, he wasn't the victim. He was the architect. The kids cut him off completely. Emily changed her last name back to my maiden one for a while, just to distance herself. Jacob refused any contact. It broke my heart for them. They had lost their father long before that night in the ballroom, but they were strong. We leaned on each other, had family dinners every Sunday, talked through the pain openly. Therapy helped all of us. I went weekly at first, unpacking decades of self-doubt, learning that love shouldn't require erasing yourself to keep it. A year passed like that, slow healing, one day at a time. I sold the house and bought a small condo downtown, closer to the city vibrancy I had missed while playing suburban wife. I redecorated it with bold colors, plants everywhere, photos of the kids and me on every wall, no traces of him. I started volunteering at a women's shelter, sharing my story in group sessions, helping others spot the red flags I had ignored. It gave me purpose, turned my pain into something meaningful. And then, on a quiet spring afternoon exactly 18 months after the party, something unexpected happened. I was at the shelter, sorting donations, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Hello. A hesitant voice. Male. Older. Is this Wendy Lawson? Yes. Who's this? A pause. My name is David Harlan. I'm Tom's brother. Tom Harlan, your PI. My heart skipped. Tom had passed away suddenly 6 months earlier, a heart attack, ironic and cruel. He had been more than an investigator. He had become a friend, checking in even after the case closed. I'm sorry to call out of the blue, David continued. Tom left instructions with his lawyer. Something for you, if you were willing. He said you'd understand. I met David at a coffee shop the next day. He was in his 60s, kind eyes like Tom's, retired military. He slid an envelope across the table. Tom was digging deeper, even after everything wrapped up. He couldn't let it go, said predators like her don't work alone sometimes. He found something about Vanessa's past. Deeper than the ex-husband's. I opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside, documents, photos, a USB drive. Vanessa Reed wasn't her real name. Born Victoria Elaine Carter, 42 years ago in a small town in Kentucky. And there was a sister. An older sister who had vanished 25 years earlier. The sister looked just like me. Same auburn hair. Same build. Same smile. Her name was Wendy Carter. She had been 30 when she disappeared, declared dead after 7 years, body never found. Vanessa Victoria had been 17 at the time. The documents showed inheritances rerouted, life insurance claimed by the family. And photos, Victoria as a teenager, obsessed with her sister. Diaries scanned from an old storage unit, pages about wanting to be her, to have her life. The surgeries weren't just Mark's idea. They were hers. From the beginning. She had targeted him because he was married to a woman who resembled her lost sister. She had molded herself into me, not for him. For her own twisted obsession. And Mark? He had gone along, feeding into it, because it stroked his ego to have a perfect version. Tom's note, in his handwriting, she fixated on you because you look like the sister she idolized and maybe harmed. Be careful. She's dangerous even from prison. I sat there stunned. David nodded. Tom wanted you to have this for protection. In case she ever gets out early. Protection. But also closure. The final piece. Vanessa hadn't just stolen my identity. She had been trying to become her sister through me. A ghost from her past, haunting my present. I handed the documents to the police. They reopened the cold case. Vanessa's sentence got extended, no parole. And me? I finally let go. 2 years after the party, life looked different. Brighter. Emily got engaged to a wonderful man who treats her like gold. Jacob started grad school, thriving. I traveled first trip alone to Italy, sipping wine in Tuscany, feeling alive in a way I hadn't in decades. And love? It found me again. His name is Michael. We met at the shelter. He volunteers there too, a widower who understands loss. He's 60, gentle, funny, with no hidden lives. We take it slow. Dinners. Walks. Laughter that feels real. He tells me I'm beautiful just as I am, no upgrades needed. I believe him. Looking back now, from this place of peace, I see it all clearly. The betrayal wasn't just Mark's or Vanessa's. It was a reminder that we all deserve to be seen, truly seen, for who we are, not some polished fantasy. I rebuilt on truth. Stronger foundations. Real connections. And for the first time in my life, I feel fully, unapologetically myself. If you've ever wondered if you could survive something like this, losing everything you thought was real, you can. You are enough. Exactly as you are. Thank you for walking this journey with me. From the bottom of my heart. If this story touched you, if it made you think about your own life or someone you love, share it. Talk about it in the comments. What would you have done? Have you ever ignored a red flag that came back to hurt you? Or stood up for yourself when no one else would? And if these stories of resilience and justice mean something to you, subscribe. I share them because we're all in this together. You're not alone. Just when I thought the chapter was closed forever. Well, maybe that's a story for another time. But for now, thank you. Thank you for listening to the end. Drop a heart or strength in the comments if Wendy's story gave you hope. It means everything.